Hello, everyone. It's Mr. Wyman, and I'm going to read another historical text today. This isn't historical fiction. This is historical nonfiction, a historical text, factual narrative of an actual event in history. Now, before I start reading Children on the Oregon Trail, I want to give you something to read for, so to think about as I'm reading and you're listening. When you read along with me, because you should be reading in your mind as I read out loud this text, think about what it would be like as a child on the Oregon Trail. Do you think that sounds like a fun adventure? Or are you happy that you live now and you're far away from the Oregon Trail and you have nothing to do with it? I want you to write a persuasive paragraph about this. I want you to share your opinion. You're not going to persuade anyone that to be a child on the Oregon Trail, but I want you to share your opinion that it would have been better to be a child on the Oregon Trail than a child right now. And you should have a few points to argue for either for or against that, right? So either you want to argue that it's better to be a child right now, not a kid on the Oregon Trail, or you're going to argue that no, actually, I think it would have been better to be a child on the Oregon Trail than a child living today, right? Okay, now let's read this historical text, and then you'll, as you listen, maybe you'll want to jot down notes even. What is this passage mostly about? Look for sentences that give you clues to the main idea. I'm reading over here the reading guide that kind of, again, guides me along to look for specific things within the text. The main idea of paragraph 3 is not the first sentence of the paragraph. Which sentence is it? You should see if you can go back and try to identify that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start reading. In 1851, Martha Gay Masterson left her home in Springfield, Missouri. She was sad and scared to leave. At the age of 13, she faced a long journey. Her family was starting on the Oregon Trail. Like Martha, most children who made the trip west were sad. Their move was permanent. They would probably never again see the friends and family they left behind. What was it like for children on the Oregon Trail? It was a trip of both challenges and thrills. Storms and high winds blew across the land. Children slept on the ground, sometimes without a tent. They were often hungry and tired because their wagon was full. They walked most of the trip. That meant that even young children would walk about 15 miles each day. Children also had many chores to do. The long day started around 4 o'clock a.m. If the family had cows, children would herd them and milk them. Then they would gather wood or fetch water. If there was no wood, children collected buffalo chips to burn instead. Buffalo chips are dried buffalo waste. That would be poop. After children did their own chores, they helped their mothers cook and wash. Over here on the site it says, why did children collect buffalo chips? Look for the cause of this event. I saw a lot of cause and effect in the text. How does the illustration help you better understand the text? If you look really closely at this illustration, it shows some children and what they're doing. You're going to use information from the illustration to write your narrative, or to write your opinion piece as well. Over here it says, which details tell that the trip was dangerous? Which details tell about the pleasant parts of the trip? And why were children ready to start their lives in Oregon? Identify the cause and effect in the last paragraph. All right, life on the trail could be more than hard. It could be dangerous. Many people did not survive. Disease and accidents were the biggest risks. They claimed lives of both children and adults. Brothers, sisters, and mothers sometimes drowned while crossing rivers. Children could fall under the wheels of a moving wagon. The journey west was not all suffering though. There were adventures too. Pioneers crossed miles of beautiful open grasslands. Millions of grazing buffalo covered the land. Children explored hot springs, waterfalls, and other natural features. They picked wildflowers, danced around campfires, and met Native Americans. Children on the Oregon Trail were probably happy that there was no school. They did have time though for learning. Families had brought books along so children could read nearly every day. Younger children were taught to read. Mothers helped their children with math and history. Many children wrote about their adventures in journals. Children found ways to have fun. They created new games using buffalo chips. Telling rhymes, riddles, or jokes helped pass the time. Music did too. Families sang hymns, ballads, and rounds. They played musical instruments such as fiddles and flutes, and they had packed in their wagons. When children reached the end of the Oregon Trail, they were about 5 months older. They were dirty and tired. The hard trip forced them to grow up fast. Now they were ready to start their new lives in the Oregon Territory. So there's the historical text, Children on the Oregon Trail. Would you have liked to have been a child on the Oregon Trail with your family traveling for 5 months? There wasn't any school, but it sounds like there was plenty of learning and work, both manual labor, helping out with all the chores, and also actually reading, learning math, history, and even reading and language. They wrote in their journals. So there's plenty of school-like activities. Which would you prefer, nowadays or back then? Let's see your writing.